Yep. All right. Call to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to our August 22nd Tiverton School Committee meeting. Is anyone signed up for open forum? Okay. Consent agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to table the approval of minutes, all of the approval of minutes, until the next meeting.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay.
I'd like to also make a motion to take off items 5A, 1, and 2 for discussion purposes.
Do I have a second? 5A, 1 and 2?
I apologize, 1, 2, and 3.
1, 2. Second. Oh, did Mrs. Powell second?
I believe Mrs. Pavo, you can be the second.
I don't know, I thought I grabbed it on my...
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? For purposes of discussion. And can I have a motion for the approval of the remainder of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Mr. Rarick?
Yes. There we go. Resignation, 4/5 music teacher, Tiverton High School, Middle School, Mike Daniels. Resignation, nurse teacher at Pecasset, Melissa McDonald. Appointments to NGSS teacher leaders, Kristen Cornell, Donna Larson, Denise Truver, Tracy Priestner, Betsy Ronan, Hallie Azevedo, Samantha Reimels, Virginia Curtis, Elizabeth Morera, and Amanda Scanlon.
Okay. And now for purposes of discussion, we can return to item 5A, 1, 2, and 3 as well we took off. I don't know if there's
Yes.
a...
Yes, 1, 2, and 3 were
Okay.
removed.
Do you want to take up?
Yeah, sure. I guess I have a question. We have a number of resignations. We have a couple of leaves of absence as well. I guess my question is, what is the overall guidance on granting leaves of absence? And in the case of one, we have a leave of absence and a letter of resignation. I'm not understanding what that's about.
Regarding the your first question regarding leaves of absence, all leaves of absences, regardless of the request, whether it's to take go on for educational sabbaticals, all requests go to the school committee for approval. So people can ask whether they're administrators or teachers, and I believe in Council 94 employees, we've granted some. They have that right as well. They have the right to request the leave, but it's up to the school committee to determine whether or not to grant the leave. So those are really the parameters, and all the contracts, all 3 contracts specify what they can ask for. But again, all it is a request. There's not a requirement for the school committee to grant it. Okay, it's entirely up to the committee at the time that they hear a request for a leave of absence. Regarding items 1 and 2, I was asked by the person to place both on the agenda in that sequence, so I did so as a courtesy to the employee.
Is this typical, that you would get a request for a leave and a resignation?
We have I'm not sure if it was this committee or the previous school committee. We have granted leaves for at least one that I can remember for a teacher to go to another district for an administrative position, even though it wasn't the rank of assistant principal. The school committee granted that. I don't recall during my time as superintendent or as a principal a school committee granting an administrator a leave of absence so that they can take another position somewhere else in another district. Does that answer the question? That is not a common request, to be clear.
And just by point of clarification, item 3A is actually a leave of absence that was granted, and then the person is choosing to resign their position at this point. Is that how I read that?
For 1 and
correctly?
2?
No. For 3. Shuffling too many papers. I didn't know he was gonna take that one off.
The reading special?
Yeah.
No, it sounds like it is a request for a leave of absence.
I guess I misread it then.
Excuse me. I have not spoken to this teacher. I've spoken to the
I
other.
see. I'm sorry. I made a mistake.
Okay, I haven't spoken
So
to the
these
teacher.
are all 3
I have spoken to the
requests for leave
administrator.
of absence.
Okay.
Or 2. Yeah.
1 and 2 are.
Got it. Yep.
Linked.
So
Yes.
1 is a request for leave of absence, 2 is a resignation, 3 is a request for a,
From someone else.
Yes.
yes.
So we're clear, okay.
Yep. Okay.
Well, I mean, for items 1 and 2, I mean, they seem to contradict one another. I really, I don't know what to make of it, to be honest.
How it was explained to me was that the employee is seeking a year's leave, so if for whatever reason it doesn't work out in the community they were hired in, they would be able to return to their current position. If the committee did not approve it, you then have the letter of resignation to act on. That's how it was presented to me. The employee is requesting the leave of absence first to be considered, and if it's not approved, then the letter of resignation to be considered and approved.
So I guess I do have an issue with it, because I mean, that's how it was reading to myself also. And I mean, I guess the way I see this, you know, every employee, and I have really the utmost respect for employees who decide to, you know, make a career move, whether it be for advancement, better pay, change in focus, or really any other reason. But, you know, when you make the decision to accept a position elsewhere, that's, you know, you do so, in my view, it's a move that's for your personal reason. And I don't see where it would be fair to hold a job for a year to allow someone to try a new one. I've never seen something like this before. Granted, I'm not an educator, and I don't know if this is something that's regularly done in education, but I've never seen it before, and I don't think really that it's fair to those who remain, especially a replacement who wouldn't really know that their position would be certain for at least a year. I don't know. I don't think it's fair to the rest of the staff that's going to stay here and continue to do a lot of great things for the students. I also don't think, you know, it's fair to the hiring district, you know, are they going to get 100% of this person's commitment, knowing that perhaps they could lose that person if they change their mind, because they have that option to go back to their old job. I don't know. I think granting something like this, it would set a precedent whereby really any employee who wants to leave, you know, they wouldn't be accepting any of the accompanying risk associated with taking a new job. We all go through that. I've been through it myself. Made a hard decision to leave one job for another, knowing that it was a gamble.
Just to kind of, and I certainly understand that, just for contextual purposes.
Yeah.
For school districts there has been a change, and also really depends the district you're in. Some districts will grant leaves of absence for a teacher who, even though the position may not be in their own district, who want to step up to an administrative position for a year. Again, speaking from my own experience, it goes back a couple decades. I was granted a 1 year's leave. I never went back, and I knew that when I left, there was really, there was no turning back. Over probably the last 10 years or so, districts have taken a different look on that and have adopted more of I would call a business model, kind of what you just said, Diane. In other words, if you choose to advance yourself, then you do so. Again, I tell people who want to be an administrator, one of the things is that you're working without a net. You're working as an administrator. You don't have the protection of a union. You don't get a number, to bump somebody or whatever, for layoff purposes, that sort of thing. You don't have any protection. And you know that when you make that jump. So that's just contextually. So again, in our own district, we have denied quite a few requests for people who are either leaving the district that we knew they were moving, but they asked for the leave. And again, you're not bound by what previous committees have done. But again, just kind of some background. School committees in Tiverton in the last few years have taken it on a case-by-case basis, and they have denied leaves of absence, just a leave of absence, never mind to go for a promotional position, just because they were moving out of state. I can think of a couple where the committee said, no, we're not going to grant it. So I don't know if that helps, but it gives at least some context.
Okay, thank you.
Am I on? My green light is not
Your
working.
red light's on.
All right. Anyone else?
Yes, sitting here, I recently have approved of a leave of absence not long ago for a teacher, and he decided not to come back. But in this circumstance, when this person has given probably 30 years to this district, and I would not want to lose this person. I would hope that if we gave him leave of absence, he might think of coming back. I'm looking at all these agendas and all these resignations these past few months. It's concerning me. We're losing a lot of excellent people, not just this one, but I would certainly support 1 year leave of absence for a person who has given his heart and soul to this district as a teacher, coach, and administrator. And I know it's done in education. I've raised my hand here before. I've raised my hand for most of them, even though they might have failed as a majority. But I hope that someone thinks enough of us that they just don't want to straight walk away. They want to be able to come back and be part of our community. It's not like someone's moving away to the West Coast or something like that. It's just a matter of circumstances. We all know what those were. And I don't see any problem with doing this. Thank you. And I make a motion to grant it, the leave of absence.
Second.
Bill, do you know if, and then you might not know, and it's fine to say no, do you know if, was the granting district, was it a temporary position, or was the intent for it to be permanent?
I have no idea.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? Mrs. Pavo? I have to say, when I first encountered the idea, irrespective of the people involved or their service or quality of educator they may or may not be, or quality of person they may or not be, it struck me as extraordinary. I didn't really seem to comport with how the rest of the world works. Be that as it may, there's always things in different areas of employment or human endeavor, what you will, that act differently. But so I'm inclined to not grant such leaves, as I don't see really what benefit they ultimately offer the district, and I see several disadvantages, most prominently that we are then sort of in this period of limbo regarding the person who then fulfills the position, as well as the people they're working with, and frankly, as well as the district that someone else is going to work for. And in fact, I think Mrs. Farnworth made a very good point that how do you give 100% to a job when you know, well, I can always go back. And one thing I guess I've learned in life is that oftentimes in these types of situations you really have to jump feet first and hope that your parachute opens. So I guess that's my inclination. Is there any other discussion? So the motion is to grant the leave of absence. All those in favor? All those opposed? That was for item number 1. Can we move on to then item number 5A2, which is we need to vote to accept the resignation. Can I have a motion to accept the resignation?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Okay. And item 5A3, this is a different request. Is there any other discussion? We need a motion, actually,
Yeah,
sorry.
okay.
So is there a motion for item 5A3 that anyone would like to make?
I'd like to make a motion to grant the high school teacher a leave of absence for 1 year.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
My reading, and I just want to confirm if it's anyone else, my reading and anyone else's reading is leaving to basically care for a young child. Anyway, okay. I just want to make sure that everybody else is, okay. That's all, that was just my question, because there was some other comments in here about part-time and stuff. I
Yeah,
just wanted
yeah.
to make sure that that was.
Well, and there is, contracts were cited, and
That's why I was a little bit confused.
the typical reason to grant a leave of absence or sabbatical is for, obtaining an advanced degree, or for medical reasons of the person or their family member, or
Maternity,
other types of
paternity.
extraordinary life circumstances.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
FMLA reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This wouldn't be.
Okay. So there's a motion to approve item 5A3.
I think it's already
Any
been
other
seconded.
discussion? It's been seconded. Yes. Is there any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor of granting item 5A3? All those opposed? Okay. Where does that leave us?
Advertisement policy?
No, don't we have correspondence? Up.
That says no.
Yes,
Yeah,
Mr. Eric, would you like to announce the name of the resignation?
Oh, yes, I apologize. Resignation, Assistant Principal, Tiverton High School, John McKinnon. Request for leave of absence, Tiverton High School, Stephanie Boocock. Boocock.
Okay, so, the end of the consent agenda. We have item 7A, Policy Development, Revision and Review, Policy number 1076, Advertisements or Advertisements.
I would just like to call to the attention of the committee. Normally, the policy states to bring new policies before the committee at the first meeting of the month. The policy subcommittee felt that this is a time-sensitive policy and wanted to get it to the committee for its first reading tonight. If it's okay with the committee, to approve it on the 29th, because we could then have the second reading on the 29th, because we do have a meeting scheduled next Tuesday, and then for final approval, if that's, again, just so you're aware that it is out of our normal sequence for policy approvals, but it is a time-sensitive matter.
Yep.
There is one change that came in that will make, and it will be reflected in the second reading, is that if I can call your attention to the second paragraph, where when we start talking about the breakdown, 70%, 20% of the fundraising, we want to note that that is for fall sports. That's for a fall breakdown. And then we're going to add a sentence that says all spring advertisements will go 100% to the athletic department.
So it'll read at the high school for fall sports, comma, revenue generated, and then you'll have the rest of it, and then there'll be a new sentence that says for spring sports, at the football field, 100% will be allocated to the athletic department, correct, Bill? That
That's
was the
correct.
change. Okay.
That was the recommendation from Bob.
We got some additional feedback from Mr. Murray, so we've made a change. And again, this is just the first reading, so.
And again, even once the committee approves it and we get feedback, we can certainly obviously amend any policy. We can make changes to this, because this is new for us.
And we can have 3 readings. There's
Right.
nothing that says it only
Right,
has to be 2.
this is new for
We're
us.
just trying to get it finished.
As it's
For
a
the
new
school year.
avenue that we're looking at going down.
So,
Dr. Larkin,
yes, Mrs. Bach.
may I speak?
May you speak?
May I speak?
You do not need my permission.
You're the chair, I have to go through you.
That hasn't made a difference to anyone in the
Well,
past.
it makes a difference to me.
Okay.
I
Don't be
always,
starting the trend, Sally.
I always do. Okay, may I? Thank you.
Roll on.
Okay, thanks. Number F, I was just wondering, it says it has to be taken down after every event. It's not going to stay up like the Little League does through the season?
No, the thinking behind that was because we have essentially a captive audience in that our kids have no choice but to be at school. And when they're up on the field for health or for PE, that, or they're in the auditorium for a
An
assembly or something.
Or the
that
gym.
They have no choice but to come to school. It's not like a football game where it's voluntary. So we want them removed during the school day because, as I said, we have a captive audience. They have no choice but to be here. So we wanted the advertising to exist, but only outside of the school
And who will
day.
take it down, the organizer of the event?
That's what it says.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You
okay.
have it written, whoever's running the event, it would have to come down. It would go up prior to the game, then come down after the game.
And we did talk about certainly having utilizing some sort of hooks or installing something that'll make
Make
So
it.
it
it-
makes
yeah,
it quick.
you know what I
So
mean?
Yeah,
they
you
just
know,
go
that's
and.
a lot of work.
They just hook
Very
them.
time
Yeah.
consuming.
We want to, basically, we're looking at a kind of a hook system where they just come and hook
Yeah.
the.
Oh, that's
So it'll
good.
be really
It's not a
easy
big,
to take up and-
No, no,
Yeah,
no.
we're going to try to make it
Okay.
as
All right, that's good.
seamless as possible.
okay, thank you. And thank you for working on that. It's a lot of work.
Okay, so does anybody have any objection for a second reading next week?
Oh, that's good.
So we'll put that on the agenda again for next week, and
And Bill, you just forward the revisions to Mr. Murray to see if he has any other further?
Yes, and
Thank
to Mr. Snizek as well.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Murray only because he had some for this one, but
Yes,
yeah,
but
if
I'll
you wanna-
send it to both.
Thank you.
Middle school as well. That's fine.
okay, new business. I'm going to ask for a motion to table item 9J to put it on the agenda for August 29th.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, and Ms. Abel, I think you had a motion you wanted to make?
I'd like to make a motion to continue 9F, the superintendent search, until the September 12th.
I'll second that.
So September 12th, and the other one was August 29th.
Mhm.
Yes.
So we have item 9F moved to the 12th, has been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. So 9A, monthly update, superintendent's report.
Yes, we'll start with special education. The audit for the regional special ed program has been completed. We being the Board of Superintendents, will be accepting the report the first Wednesday in September. We plan on bringing it to the committee for your review and comment on September 12th. So it's done. I've only seen a brief outline, and I think the findings are very favorable and support what we've been doing, but we'll be able to roll it out formally, on the 12th. Newport Area Career and Tech Center.
$27 million grant?
Yeah, I know. I was going to point out that it's 27,000.
We're in the money.
Yeah, that got by us all. I wish it was for 27 million. It has been finalized, the budget. The 27,000 is our share to purchase equipment to support the PLTW programs.
So it's 27.
It's 27,550, and we also received 18,801 to pay the salary for the school to career coordinator. And again, this was finalized back, I think we talked about it in June. It hadn't been finalized yet, but I received word over the last month that it has been. Renovations to the high school and the middle school. If you haven't gone to the middle school, the parking lot's been done. I think it looks great. And it's lined, and it's hard to believe what it used to be just a few short months ago. Renovations to the high school and the middle school. We have been meeting over the summer, the building committee. We have received one bid for the general contractor's position, or when we went out to bid. We thought we were going to have three. We had three companies asking for information, providing us with information, but when the bid came, the closing date, we only had one firm. The building committee met last week with the one company, and we are working with them on their bid to get it within the parameters, make sure that there's enough for our budget. We will be meeting, the building committee will be meeting Thursday night to review one last time their proposal to finalize the numbers from the contractor, and it's quite possible on the 29th we'll be bringing a name forward for the committee's review to hire a general contractor. We had a meeting today. One of the things that will be brought up on the 29th is that in order to get the project under budget, where we're comfortable as the school department, they will be recommending that work be performed during the school day. And we had meetings today with the principals, the builder, RGB, and along with our athletic directors, and we're very comfortable if they can come within our budget. We're comfortable, and we will be discussing it more fully, obviously, with the school committee, but I didn't want you to get sticker shock when you got the packet over the weekend and go, what? In order for the project to get done under budget, or in our budget, they need to start almost immediately on the roofs, and then in the springtime start working on the HVA systems. And I'm comfortable with what they're proposing, but we're going to go over it Thursday night with Sue Zimick was present today with us, and she's an architect for those of you in the audience who don't know, and rely on her and Jim Odell a lot. And I'm comfortable moving forward if they come within our budgetary within our budget, that's something we can do. It's doable.
So the meeting today was productive?
It was very productive.
Okay.
Very
Not saying
productive.
more than that.
Are you confident that you would be able to maintain security?
Yes.
Okay.
And again, we'll have the builder here, or the contractor, present for the 29th to answer questions that you have. We'll have diagrams that, everything we saw today, we'll have for you, and you can see how the work will be done in stages. And all our questions were answered, and hopefully they can come within budget, and we can have a general contractor to recommend on the 29th.
And if I might, budget means the bond. We haven't contributed, or we're not planning on contributing any funds above and beyond the bond
No.
at this point.
Absolutely not.
Okay. Yep, all right.
Oh, I'm sorry, and again, parking lot, excuse me, parking lot's been done, as I mentioned, and we are in the process of installing the building security at Ranger Picasso, Fort Barton, and the central office, and we hope to have that ready for opening day. So that will be similar to the high school, where you have the double doors and the double buzz-in, and we'll be working on the middle school. We have done some work at the middle school, but I don't think it'll be ready for opening day.
But we at least have a plan.
But we have a
Yeah.
plan. It was approved by the fire marshal, so we should have that up and going within a couple of weeks once school starts.
Okay.
Is there any update on the bid process for the parking lot here?
Yes, we've gone out to bid, and Carolyn, when does it close?
Okay.
Yes. So we submitted the
Way over
bid.
there.
All right. All right.
You didn't want to sit next to me, but now I
guess.
do, so.
All right. I shouldn't ask these questions, I guess. All right. Item 9A2, Assistant Superintendent's Report.
Thank you. My report addresses instruction, assessment, communications, and professional learning. And just briefly, I want to highlight a few things that happened just today. The principals, Mr. Carnavale, myself, Ms. Borges, and Mr. Farish attended a state training on the reiteration of our state assessment system. So we'll provide updates for you down the road on that. This was a very initial training, and the representatives from RIDE, in fact, talked about how some of the assessments don't yet have names. We are aware of what's coming. The important part, of course, is the instruction, and we continue to be focused on the same standards and goals that our teachers have been working toward. But that is a brief update on that matter. Just as of yesterday, our kindergarten teachers and all the supplemental support staff, including special educators and reading specialists, completed their training on Wilson Language Foundation trainings, and all those materials are in. So starting next week, all of the kindergartners in Tiverton will receive the most evidence-based and effective early literacy instruction. And it's shown over time to prevent things like dyslexia and to really make a big difference for making sure all children can read early and read well. So that just was finished yesterday. We had a bunch of teachers go up and receive a full day of training and came back very excited. And then finally, today was the first of 2 days of training related to communications for our administrative support staff. Second day is tomorrow. So that is in alignment with the communications plan that the district has. And I think it will make an impact in terms of improving all of our experience, and all of the ideas that come from the participants should really help us do a better job of reaching our families.
Great. Thank you. Is that it? And, yep.
Wasn't there one about the Van Buren? Didn't you report on that?
Yes, just recently, Mr. Ashley, Miss Elwell, and Ms. Krager and I met with Deb Linnell from the Van Buren Foundation. She came and did a site visit at the high school for the proposal around social emotional learning and digital literacy and the core values that the high school teachers have. So she is reading research and reviewing all of our materials, and has said she expects to get back to us in about November, but she was really excited. It was a very positive meeting.
And thank you, because that's the multisensory is the reading, right? Multisensory, which we all know. If you reach every sense a child has, you'll reach him or her. And now the social emotional learning is very, very important. I'm very excited about those two issues. Thank you.
One of the, and just, again, it's a note, but it's an important note. We are in the process of reaching out to organizations that have been, names of organizations that have been given to us to look into the preschool, before school daycare. And Amy, is there part of Van Buren that addresses that as well?
Ms. Linnell did mention that Van Buren is proud to sponsor before and after care startup costs.
Excuse me, they'll be one of the organizations that will be speaking with in greater detail as to how do we organize and start such a program, and what it would look like. And my colleagues on the island have been very helpful providing us with names of organizations and giving me background on what they do. each community does it a little different.
Fantastic. I know there are a lot of folks that'll be very happy once we get to some kind of resolution on this.
Okay, item 9A3, maintenance reporters, director's report, Mr. Mendes.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Bill stole some of my thunder.
Feel free to repeat it.
Yes, because I was going to talk about the parking lot. I made numerous trips down there daily while they were working on that, just to make sure that they were doing it what we wanted. And it's the only way you can keep a lot of subcontractors online, in focus, I guess. Once that was done, I got striping done, which is per contract. They want to stripe it one way. I said, no, it's got to be what we had. The only difference there was the two handicap spot. We enlarged them a little bit, so they were van accessible. So we won't have any issues. That was the middle school building project. Middle school and high school building project, I did a lot of value engineering with the contractor, walked around with the gentleman, I don't know, days on end it seemed like, so. A lot of walking around this summer. Did fire inspections and worked on fire violations, also with the fire marshal. I had two of them this year, not one, we had fire marshals. But we were almost good.
You get rid of one?
You say, how do we do?
Almost good.
We did well.
Okay.
We did sprinkler tests throughout every building. The fire pump at Ranger, we had to take care of. So testing, had all the fire extinguishers tested on a yearly basis. Get that straightened out. The paving, as I said, middle school, we had some security doors put in the front entrance. And once the security for the four buildings we're going to do now, I want to reevaluate their work to see if we want to use them again at the middle school for that portion. And I guess that's about it.
Mike, can you
And
speak?
numerous trips around to all the buildings to make sure the guys were working and keep it on time.
This came up today. We just received a communication this afternoon from the town that they're going to start paving Brayton Road, North Brayton, and Quintel. They're going to start grinding it this Thursday and Friday, with paving taking place Monday and Tuesday. Now, obviously, that impacts what we do because we have, first of all, the kids painted the triangle. And we had asked them, when are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? And they said, well, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Well, we just got word today, and we'll have some conversations regarding the, communication. But we have to work with the town because we have to have access to the schools on Monday and Tuesday next week because we have our teacher PD days, plus we have all the activities, plus you have people who live in the neighborhood. We have to get some clarification for what's going to be allowed and not allowed.
I'll
But
be doing that
again,
tomorrow.
I don't know why, it was all summer, and we get the word, we got it this afternoon.
Their
So,
road, I guess they get to do what they want.
We may be having a new painting triangle.
Yeah, there might be a Saturday,
That was a practice one.
That was a good practice.
Well, what they did was there's a line out there, I probably never even noticed it, of where they have to call dig safe
Yeah.
for any construction
Right.
project.
Right.
They wanted to stay from behind that line towards a booger marsh,
Yeah,
nothing up this end.
yeah.
And they did 90% of their work over there. There's a couple ones on this side, so hopefully
It'll be all right.
it's saved.
Okay, good.
But they did their best.
so that could be an issue. I mean, it's supposed to be, again, that's assuming there's no rain,
True.
and we open on next Thursday.
I was just going to say, they're aware school's opening.
Oh, yeah, Mike had conversations.
I've had
with
many
them.
conversations with
The
them.
minute we found out that they
Right,
were
schools
gonna,
start
they were
Wednesday.
thinking of doing it, Mike went down and talked to Public Works and said, you gotta, give us a heads up when you're gonna do it, and, school starts on this date, and
Because if it gets delayed at all, we can't. We have to have access
Understood.
to schools.
understood.
Because the bus is gonna roll next Thursday, no matter what.
Right. Well, buses, parents, I mean.
Residents in the neighborhood.
residents.
Yeah.
Okay.
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 Thank you, Mike.
Stay tuned, I guess. All right. 9B, proposals to Tiverton Charter Commission. So in your packets is a letter that I received from the chair, vice chair, and secretary of the newly impaneled or sworn-in Charter Review Commission. There's also a package of about 20 proposals made by Mr. Karen preliminarily, I suppose, to the commission, and then I think Mrs. Black just distributed to us an updated version that, anyway, what they have asked of me, and by way of me, I suppose, all of us, is to give them some input. They have not yet, they mentioned that they would invite us to a specific session, and they have not yet indicated when that will be. But it's something that we need to think about. It's kind of hard to digest some of all this to make sense of what they're getting at, but wanted to put it on the agenda to at least begin the discussion.
I wonder if, at least preliminarily, we should have Stephen and Vicky start looking over some of these proposals, because I believe some of them
Yeah.
are probably against state law.
There's a lot in there that,
There's a lot to digest. I
Yeah.
mean, if you just look on the
I
first.
mean, I don't want to waste their time either, but I do think there's some in here that,
There are issues just right off the top, number 13 and 14 on the second document that Mrs. Black just gave us. They're proposing to move when we have to get our final budget in, instead of 37 days, 63 days.
so we have to have our budget done in December?
so they're
Well,
moving the calendar up even more.
I'm just pointing, I mean, this was the first I've seen it, but I mean, I'll go through it as well, but those kind of things, I mean, never mind the ones that we know of that might be counter to state law, like
Well,
term
yeah,
limits and.
those are issues, but I'm thinking like, for instance, language having the FTR voters approve collective bargaining. I know that in other towns, they're able to have their council approve collective bargaining because the council is a voting body, is a controlling body, and they can negotiate with them, if you will. But you can't negotiate with 12,000 residents. So I think that's gonna be an issue for collective bargaining. That you basically say the FTR has to approve a collective bargaining agreement that doesn't allow the bargaining unit to have anybody to bargain with. I mean, so I think, there's gonna be, some issue there. I don't, like you said, Bill, there's some maintenance of effort
There's restriction on.
language
there's-
that I think they're gonna run
There's
into.
restriction on term limit, language regarding term limits, not only for school committee members, but for the superintendent of
Right,
schools,
and
which is absurd.
I mean,
So if you have a good person, I'm sorry, but if you have a good employee,
Right.
you're gonna say, see you later after 4 years or 6 years? I mean, it's just, doesn't make a whole lot
But
of
I guess,
sense.
yeah.
I call that the Sally.
Well,
amendment.
that's the
Sally
Black
Rearick
amendment.
amendment.
No, mine is the Rearick rule and
But we
Sally
have a
amendment,
Sally
and the
rule,
Black
too.
amendment.
Black, and can I say something,
That'll be for
please?
posterity, so.
If you don't say it, I probably will, so why don't
Okay,
you
so
say it?
anyway, I've been going to all the meetings, and as you can see, as soon as they pass it out, I collect it, because then it's public, and then I make copies and give it to everybody. And I agree with you, Deb, last time we gave it to Mr. Robinson, and he looked through it and found many things, and he sent them back to us, and they all came true. And I think there's more. Last night, the latest one was not to have the school committee and the town council put in a budget, just a petitioner. Because they said the school committee or the town council has never done that. And I said, but we tried. We tried to. But anyway, I think that, and they're not done yet. So as they come in, I'll give them to you. And then we have to have them look at it. As Deb said, there are some that are just against, they're illegal.
Yeah, I guess my,
We have,
so,
But I don't want to waste their time,
that's,
but.
well, I don't want to waste, yeah, and I don't want to
No,
waste
but-
ours, because I would hope that they will separate the wheat from the chaff somehow here, because there's an awful lot of chaff, and I'm not sure what they're truly going to try and focus on. And I think that's going to be a more productive discussion.
This is one person's
Right,
recommendation so
right.
far.
So,
So we
was
can wait
there
and
any
see.
indication about, like, do they want to, I mean, I can give them a lot of feedback. I'm not sure they're going to.
they wanted us to come already in September. I thought that was too soon. Right away.
Well,
I
we
think
They
we
haven't
need-
had
we
any
need
The
more
commu-
school
time.
committee
additional
needs to
communication with
understand
me.
what the
know what
totality
I
of the
mean?
proposals are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we need to discuss them and come
Then
up
you
with a
need to
position.
discuss, right.
right.
Take
That's what I
positions,
thought. So
then go.
we need some
Right.
time to look over this, and then
Yeah.
1218 we can look at
But
again, that word labor, of
Have
course.
so I guess there's two things. One is, yes, a response to what they're proposing, but I'm hoping that they will narrow what their focus is a little bit, because they're all over the place. Unless they're
So
gonna,
you're thinking, Dr. Larkin, maybe that, I'm sorry, that maybe once it starts, it gets whittled down.
Right.
Maybe
Yeah.
then we'll
Yeah.
turn it over
was
to
there any
our
indication that
attorneys.
they were whittling?
No, not
Do they
whittling
need
yet, they
knives?
keep bringing them in, they're
But they
coming.
have until next summer.
Right, they have time, so we don't
Okay.
need to go in September,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, okay.
until we know.
Yeah.
what
And
they're
then
gonna
I
do.
think it is certainly reasonable for us to sort of think about what we would want
Right, of course.
changed as well. In particular, I think, no matter what anybody says, the charter is sufficiently vague that an attorney can find whatever they want in it
Exactly,
to
so-
squelch democracy. So
Right, so,
I
Has to
think
make it
that's
more
one thing we
clear.
can say to them.
yeah.
So,
I'm sure you'd love to say that. In 1218, we have to look at again for that word labor, that says we can't talk. That one's pretty unconstitutional, but we'll try that one again.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, so maybe we should put this on the agenda again for not the 12th, perhaps the 26th.
Yeah. And
To
could you please just
see-
notify them that the beginning of September is too early for us, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they haven't,
You know what I mean?
were they talking about that at the meeting at the time?
Yeah.
They haven't communicated that
If
to me.
they do. Okay,
All
thank
right.
you.
So,
Thank you.
I guess I could send them an email saying, I heard you were thinking of something, don't do it.
We need to digest
And then I could
it.
have
Right.
about 30 blanks after that statement. All right.
I am concerned, though, that having, I guess, been on the school committee during the last process that Mr. Karen ran, our feedback was solicited not so much to solicit it, but to figure out a way to argue against it when it came time to put it on the ballot. But that is what it is. I mean, we have to present our ideas and present our arguments against, even if those arguments against are just going to be used as,
Well, it's hard to interpret many of the things in the packet that they disseminated either time as not being relatively hostile to the school
no
district.
experience with the
And
rest of the kid committee, just, I know specifically with Mr. Karen that
He
his,
just disposed of them.
his objective was to dispose of the
That's what he
arguments
did,
more
yeah.
than actually hear the arguments.
Yep.
But let's hope he perhaps has had a change of heart.
Yep.
So
Okay.
just to get a little bit of clarification on this, Sally, these are documents that you got from the meetings. They weren't necessarily sent to our committee for our input.
Correct.
No.
Okay, just making sure. Because at first, that's what I thought.
The only,
it
no,
was,
no,
and
the
I was
only,
like-
the only thing that has been sent to us is the
That
letter
letter.
that is
Just that
addressed to
letter.
me as the chair
Okay.
about they want us to come and talk to them. They didn't really say about what.
Okay,
Presumably, it's about the schools and the charter.
right.
But
But
This other stuff
since so many of
that,
them
you know,
concerned us, I wanted you to see
They
them.
are, yeah.
No, appreciate it, thank you.
Same, you know, they are under the same
Like maybe
requirements for
19 out
open
of
meetings,
20.
and so this is stuff that they're talking about, but I'd like to know if they're gonna narrow this at all, or maybe
Right,
not.
like I said, you're right, I don't wanna waste our time, certainly don't wanna
Or
waste our
theirs.
attorney's time, but,
Yep.
only because we pay them.
Should we appoint an official liaison? Mrs. Black?
I could stay till 10 o'clock. I don't mind going. I enjoy it.
Are they gonna be taped, do we know?
They don't know yet.
Because I thought I read they weren't going to be taped.
I was really hoping they would.
Yeah, because then at least we could all watch them on our own.
Right.
I hate to have,
Yeah.
maybe until we find out if they're gonna be taped, if
I can go,
we take notes.
yeah,
Thank
Okay.
you.
sure.
All
Because
right.
once they're taped, then we
Thank
can
you.
all just watch.
Appreciate
You can
that.
watch them at home.
Thank you.
I didn't mean to corner you.
That's okay.
Wait for further instructions from the committee.
Yes.
What they wish to do.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we need to have a better
It's a little premature.
understanding of what they're really trying to focus on, or not.
And the new charter is yellow. I tried to get everyone one today, but they're
new
not
charter
ready
is
yet.
yellow?
The latest charter is yellow, see it? I tried to bring one tonight, but they weren't ready yet.
They didn't use
Okay.
lavender.
I mean, it's yellow. I didn't know they had colors.
They do. I have a purple one and a blue one, and, yeah.
Oh,
I'll get you all one, okay?
great. You never know what you're gonna learn. All right. Item 9B? No, C.
See,
Enrollment projections.
On the enrollment form, I apologize, because when I was writing this, for some reason I had first grade in my head. It's kindergarten. What we have here is, these are our enrollment figures as of Friday of last week for the district. I gave them to you by grade level, pre-K 4, middle school, high school. Currently, we have 1,855 students total currently enrolled, which is 12 students more than our October enrollment figures from a year ago. So a year ago, October 1, we had 1,843 that we reported to the state. So as of right now, we have 1,855, and those are the numbers, as we're well aware, that are
They
always.
still come in.
That are
yeah.
used.
No, right.
We also have an issue, I'm concerned about our kindergarten enrollment. As of right now, we have 5, if all the parents come in that said they were coming in, we'll have 5 openings, or we have 5 openings currently in kindergarten,
District-wide.
district-wide. It's not first grade, as I mentioned,
kindergarten.
it's kindergarten. And I monitor it every day, I get the numbers.
So do you have any
Something-
kind of a plan to go to in the event?
If we have to, we will have to take the first grade bubble classroom that we have currently projected at Pecasset. We have a bubble first grade, second grade. First, no, I'm right, first. And we would have to move the kids around to make that a K classroom, and then eventually move of first or second grade to Ranger, to our one open classroom that we have left. And that would be a major, it sounds simple to do,
No,
but we'd be moving 25 kids,
From Pecasset
25
to
little
Ranger.
ones.
little ones,
yeah.
from Pecasset to Ranger.
Yeah.
So it'd be a significant imposition for parents.
Do you think it's likely? I mean, you,
Hard to tell. It's just, it's something we have to watch. It's very, very close right now. Because when we do get enrollments, they're usually the younger students in grades pre-K through 4 at this time of year. It's usually kindergarten, because parents, and we still have probably a half a dozen requests for students who aren't age appropriate, who turn 5 after September 1st, who I can't grant waivers to because we don't have any space. So it's just something that you need to be aware of, and I'll be reporting back on the 12th. I'll give another update as to, if not sooner. I mean, if we have to do
And is
something.
the
I'll-
5 including the wiggle room in the cap, or without?
No, the 5 that is our number.
That's it, okay,
That's our number as is. If we go over that, then we gotta start moving people,
okay.
students. people. But right now, I mean, that's the downside. The good side is our enrollment is up, and will be higher than it was last October, which is the date, again, the reporting date that's always used by folks who only want to give us $1 more. So they at least maintenance of effort will be made.
12 times 14,000 or $16,000, whatever our per pupil is.
Pupils about 16.4.
Yeah, so it's 12.
Right.
At least that. Since it's so
And I'll
mathematical.
keep the committee updated, you know, as needed on this.
Okay. All right. Item 9D, air quality report, middle school.
Yes, I'm sharing the findings from an air quality study. It was requested by one of our parents who has a child who has a respiratory condition, and I said we would do the air quality of the building. It came back good. Our air quality at the middle school is fine. I also authorized the same company to do our other schools. So I'll have the reports hopefully to you by the 12th.
Thank you to all the custodians for keeping the buildings in such good shape. Thank you very much. It's a lot of hard
And
work.
again, for those, again, I'm going back, you know, in time, Sally was here, Elaine certainly remembers the year of the mold back in '06, where the entire high school was encased in mold, and it was just.
Really?
And we've changed our practices, it goes to what Sally said, that's why you see those big jet engine fans in the hallways. You know, we keep our windows open and as much as possible, and knock on wood, haven't had
heard
it
about
since
that.
then.
All right, so you'll get back to us on the rest of them? too?
Yes.
Okay. Item 9E, approval to replace copier machines.
Yes, that's me. Thank you. Each summer, we sort of revisit the needs of our copiers, and we had two sort of very high mileage copiers at the high school and middle school this summer. So I've got a proposal to replace them with equipment that I hope is just as hardy, and we are hoping to get another 5 years out of them. So I've attached the cost and the cover sheet of the lease on page 2 of my memo, and I'm asking for approval to enter into a new lease for these two copiers.
Okay, have a motion? Favor?
Second.
Any discussion?
I just have one question.
Sure.
Are these equal swaps for the retiring units?
Yeah, what we typically do is because we keep our machines a relatively long period of time, we ask our salesperson to give us an equivalent machine if it's managed to hold up for that length of time, which they have. Model numbers change, but they're
Cool,
familiar
yeah.
with their line. They are all off the state bid list, so we're confident. We've been dealing with this company for a while that they replace what's sort of phased out with something equal to or better.
Okay.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed?
Thank you.
All right, item 9G, request to seek a waiver from the town for payment of fees associated with the renovation of the high school and middle school. So this was me, and when we were working through the bid proposal and the funding that is available from the bond, as well as costs and ways of trying to make sure the bid stayed within the funding from the bond. One of the items we thought we might be able to save some money on is if the town would be willing to waive the permitting fees for the work to be done. It would, is estimated at about $55,000 if we, and so by taking that out of the contractor's budget, if it comes in at less than $55,000, then we actually will save some money, or it'll, be less, $55,000, less whatever that is. But if we can get the town to waive the fees, that's actually a savings to us. So I was going to ask for the consent of the rest of the committee for myself and whoever wants to join me to try and go before the town council to see if they would be willing to waive the permitting fees for the work to be done.
Dr. Larkin, do we know, and I guess that would be a question for them if you don't, did they budget that $55,000?
Yes.
So they budgeted the department to run with the $55,000?
The town?
Yes.
No,
I
no,
don't.
no,
No,
the
no,
town,
no.
oh, I'm sorry, the town.
No,
I
they're
thought you
not.
meant The company.
They didn't.
I have no idea.
I don't know. I wouldn't think that they would say, oh, the school, I don't know, maybe they're that mercenary. Yeah, I don't know.
Just from a historical perspective, for the other two projects
I
that we
just
had,
wouldn't want to shorten
The other
someone's
two-
budget if they had.
and again, this is
Yeah.
a new town council, a different council, but the previous councils, when we came before them before, both said no, but it's certainly worth asking
Yeah.
to see if they'll waive.
Yeah, I would also recommend if they are not interested in a full waiver, maybe a portion of it, because it really doesn't make a lot of sense for one town department to be making money on another one, so maybe they'd
Yeah,
be
and
willing to-
ultimately, it's the towns that are carrying the bonds.
Yeah.
All
Yep.
right, well, so I guess consensus that it's fine, Jerry?
Yeah.
But
Wanna
yeah, I
come
would
with me?
just ask about, I would just be concerned, like I said, as long as, which you're probably right, they probably didn't plan on it.
I would
having
be
their budget,
surprised
but I
if
would
they
wanna
did.
ask.
I mean, they would incur some expenses with the inspectors coming here, but maybe there could be a negotiation.
Well, as I said, maybe we can cover those costs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
at least.
Kelly?
Town history lesson is that all monies that are collected go right to the general fund. So no town department would be counting on any fees because they would all go to the general fund.
But the
Right.
town would count it as revenue.
Right, and if they counted that revenue when they were doing their budget.
When they do
They
their
haven't
revenue,
spoken about it at any town council meeting.
No,
Let's
that's
just-
why I didn't
let's
think they
ask.
did,
yeah,
but
I
certainly
don't
worth
think they would have
asking.
had a way to
Yeah, you know,
know what it was.
They
gonna
say
be.
we're
And I
buying
don't
2
have
police
the
cars or
docket
something with that.
from
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, I think if they had somehow,
Let's just make sure they weren't counting on it when they did.
I'm sure they'll let us know when we get there if they were,
I'm
so.
sure they'll tell you.
Yeah,
They probably were not.
all right, so. Item 9H, discussion on how to improve the viewing experience for viewers of school committee meetings on television and online. So, as you may recall, at our last committee meeting, we had a different setup, and that was.
As you can see, we loved it.
So, I'm going to try and make this as brief as possible. So, and that was it was on the advice of our audiovisual media people to sort of focus in the screen a little bit. There were some, I think, wasn't perfect for the experience of us sitting up here, I have to say. So, I asked Mr. Rurick to go back to our old arrangement, and I am happy to work with the media people if you want me to do that, to see if we can come up with something that improves the experience of the viewer as well as the experience of the participants. Otherwise, we can have a more full discussion of it at some later meeting, but I'm willing to give it a go.
Yep, I'm happy to have that.
Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah.
Mrs. Black, it's okay with you?
It's fine.
Okay. So I will try and work with Mr. Reese and the other.
Try to make all the people fit, right? That's all I care
Yeah,
about.
I
I don't care where they sit, as long as everybody's, this is our team, okay? These are our leaders, our education lead, and in fact, in the field memo from the commissioner, he was talking about these leaders that we have to sit with and work with, and, you know, that was
Yeah.
my only point.
Well,
I don't
by-
care where anyone sits, as long as we're all here.
By no means we.
Yeah, no, you have to stay there.
By no means we want to exclude anyone.
we don't.
But I need to figure out, it was something that was done, I think, with all the best of intentions.
Oh, of course it was, yeah.
But I don't think anyone had really talked to us about it. And so let's find out what the fixed needs are, and then see if we can come up with a solution that will be happy for everybody.
And I will sit here in the meantime so that we can all be in frame.
Was that part of the problem?
Yes.
Oh. See, I don't even know what the problem was, so anyway, all right. Item 9I, referral to open forum policy review. I don't know why I keep on putting these things on the agenda. All right, so,
You're our Doug this week.
Got a lot on the.
I know.
Wow.
You must have had a lot of free time.
I had plenty to do. But I received communication from a vendor asking to speak in open forum, and I felt that that was not the appropriate use of that of the open forum, nor did it really comport with what I thought was the intention of the policy. However, the policy does not specifically talk about whether or not a vendor can come and address us. And so I wanted to refer this back to the policy subcommittee to really decide, well, who actually has standing to come and speak? Is it anybody in the world? We've certainly had members of the NRA come and speak. We've had, and I'm not sure that, actually I'm pretty sure that I don't think that is appropriate. If a citizen of Tiverton wants to come and speak about the Second Amendment, I am more than happy to entertain their viewpoint. I'm not so sure that I feel that someone from Exeter needs to come and talk about the Second Amendment or their opposition to the Second Amendment or whatever they want to talk about. So I think we need to clarify exactly who has standing, and personally I would suggest that they need to be a resident of the town or an employee of the school district. I also, right now I think it says individual will be limited to 3 minutes. I might add, that can be extended at the judgment of the chair or the vice chair, or, by vote of the committee or something like that.
Maybe we could even talk about, limit it to, whatever, 5, 6 people, because certain limit, because if you've got 20 people at 3 minutes, that's, an hour.
Yeah, no,
So
so
maybe we can-
I think open forum is a good idea, but I think we can tighten things up, and specifically, I told the vendor that I would not allow him to speak. If anyone would like me to call him back.
Did he want to speak on behalf of his company? Like,
He wanted to sell us something.
He wanted to sell us something.
Yeah,
It's not the appropriate, no, that's not the appropriate place.
yeah, so,
Okay, we'll look at it.
okay. All right. And we are up to 9K that I have not put on the agenda.
I will make a motion to approve the home teaching requests as recommended.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Yeah, she's gonna come on.
All
the
those in favor?
29th.
Yeah. We moved.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Announcements?
Tomorrow, we will receive word today from RIDE, the park scores will be released to the general public, so look for that. I'm sure that always makes the 5 and 6 o'clock news, how school districts fared on the most recent park tests. And again, keep in mind, it's been a while since we talked about assessments. Park testing's no longer. We now have RIDEcast, so we'll be able to go, we'll use the data like we usually do, we'll go through it, but keep in mind, I don't know how valuable it is to us.
You can just sort of say we don't do that anymore.
We're changing the assessment again, or it has been changed for us.
Thank you.
And Massachusetts does so well from 1993. They've done the same thing
Same one,
with millions and millions in support.
Yep.
Teachers training, I took it in the summer, unbelievable. We keep changing and changing, and I wonder why.
We're never gonna get any better.
Crazy. And thank you for going for the new graduation, Amy, because that's great, because we have to get a hold of that now, and that's nice. It's multiple pathways, and Mr. Leary knows it's my favorite. They finally listened after all those years of me at the State House.
Finally.
All right, I'm going to ask for a motion to move into executive session under Rhode Island General Law 4246 5A2, litigation, legal advice, teacher termination decision from RIDE.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.